part two is like my personal thoughts, and then also the broad spectrum of American shark culture in general. So how I feel about this is it's a mix of positive and negative, mostly positive because one of the big issues with science, I mean any kind of science, but definitely shark science, that's included, is the fact that it's just really hard to access. It's hard for the public to get into it. It's hard for the public to access science, right? And what Ocearch has done, maybe even if some projects are not new, right, is they've made it fun. They've made it accessible. They've made it sexy. They've made it like, you know, a lot of people are paying attention now, right? A lot of people who do not know or did not care beforehand. And that's sort of, it's kind of the core, and I don't want to say it's a problem of science because it's organically what science is, but it's just that, you know, science does not know how to make movies, right? Science does not know how to make popular music. Science does not know how to, you know, like, do a political campaign or like what I mean by that is like, the nature of science is that it is a very insular community, and the platform of a lot of different scientific projects, especially shark science, even if they're interesting, it's still going to be appealing to other shark scientists, right? And that's a small percentage of the world, where the rest of us, you know, who might have like a 9-to-5 job or, you know, might have a small attention span. I mean, yeah, I don't blame you, but like, you know, they're not gonna be involved in that community. They won't have access to that community. Because like real science, real marine biology, real shark science, I mean, those are scientific papers, you know, those are scientific conferences, those are presentations, those are things where you have to be kind of in the field to know about it, right? It's not a real big, it's not like a public gala. Sometimes it is, but there is a big gap in a lot of different places between the public, the layman, and the scientist, right? So yes, the original person, the original group who discovered the white shark nursery, all the other original people who made these discoveries before Ocearch, they deserve the credit, right? But unfortunately, they were not recognized by the public because it's just the nature of science itself. Whereas, like, you don't have a giant or a strong or a big platform to project your work. You know, it's important. It is added to the body of knowledge. It's a very, very important contribution to the work. To the world, but like it's gonna be so in more of a secluded way. It's really hard to get true science out there, because the world that is out there, you know, it's again small attention span, lots of entertainment, lots of fun stuff, lots of distractions, especially now. So what the exposure that Ocearch has done, and that they're giving to these sharks is, I think, in that light, very important, right? Because the people who are paying attention to Ocearch, you know, the layperson who like thinks this is great and cool and doesn't have the time to dig deeper, I mean, now they're engaged, right? That was an audience that, you know, the shark scientists didn't have access before, right? Like and I think that's very powerful, because the person who's engaged now, the more people engage, the more people aware of what Ocearch is doing, it's just, those are people who, some of them might be wealthy, some might contribute to shark science, some might be voters. This might affect, like, you know, their local elections or state, or like, you know, grander elections, like who has more of a like a protective program, or who makes that a priority. Or this might change someone's worldview. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that these sharks were here. I didn't know this endangered species of shark, or this sensitive species of shark, was so close to my world, right? So making that apparent and raising that awareness, you know, even if they maybe, you know, get kind of too much credit, or even if they maybe kind of play into shark bro culture a little bit, and I'll talk about that in a second, it's still massively important. And I do commend them for that. I sincerely do. And that's part of why I love doing Dr. Jaws stuff, because it's just, you know, I like making science more accessible, but I like the creativity of it, and I like mixing these things. You know, it's really, really important, because there's a lot of power in the arts. You know, there's power to making things fun and interesting. So Yeah, I mean, there it is. So the small negatives I might have, this is not a negative, what I'm about to say is not a negative, but this is kind of like an observation. There is an interesting group of people in the United States who are kind of like the shark bro. That is a real group of people. Some of them are actually scientists. That's actually sort of like a shark scientific stereotype. Basically, like some, and I've never met these people, but like some shark, because the scientists I've met have been really down to earth and awesome. Like very, very lovely people, you know. Like, I don't know, grab a couple of beers, like, you know, good rock music, just, I mean, or heavy metal. But like, anyway, like they're nice people, down to earth. Right, so I've never met a shark bro scientist, but I've heard of shark bro scientist, and I've definitely seen in other parts of the world / internet the shark bro guy. Like, and what it is like kind of that whole macho mentality, like I'm working with something so cool, or like Shark Week is back, or like grab some beers, and like I don't know, just like people get really excited about sharks. People get really into it, and sometimes they get into it for, I don't want to say the wrong reasons, because everybody's, you know, free to like whatever they like, but like sometimes they get into it in a way that maybe doesn't focus on what sharks need a little bit, because this is where Sharknado happens, and this is where like Sharktopus happens, where sharks become less of a living organic thing and an animal that needs help, and more of like this, like, I don't know how to say it, just like I don't know how to say it. It's like people listening and who have met these people know what I'm talking about. Like, and again, it's, I don't want to say it's like a bad thing, but it's the thing that exists and sort of maybe misses, I think it misses the shark. It turns sharks into something else. You know, it turns them into this sort of interesting subculture of like, I don't know, just raw power, debauchery, macho stuff, possibly pig-headedness, but I digress. And maybe a teeny aspect of Ocearch sort of plays into that a little bit. I mean, because again, it's a mad cool project, and maybe they use that to their advantage. Maybe some of their marketing stuff, you know, I mean, I don't know, videos of like, you know, like, you know, like tough white shark, wah, wah. You know, that kind of mentality. It's, again, I don't want to say it's a bad thing, but it's kind of, I don't know, it's a slippery slope. Like, some of that is a lot of fun, but then a lot of that starts to bring us away from, hey, why are we tagging these sharks again? You know, hey, why is it important to figure out where white sharks are going? So yeah, there's that. And there have been 2 instances where a tag has pinged, it's a white shark tag, has pinged in an estuary, right? The first one is the worst one. And it happened a couple years ago, where a white shark pinged in the northern part of the Chesapeake Bay. And I think it was actually north of Baltimore. It's kind of near the Sassafras River area. But if you know anything about the Chesapeake Bay, and you know anything about the salinity of the bay in that area, that is like 0 to maybe 3 parts per thousand. Actually, maybe not even 3, that's 2. Basically, that's fresh to brackish water, almost pure fresh water, right? Stripers go there, rockfish go there, but that is literally impossible for a white shark to be there. And I saw that tag, and I was like, oh, we either made the discovery of the century, or the satellite messed up. And, you know, the satellite messed up. White sharks have never been recorded in Chesapeake Bay, right? And there's no reason for them to be in the bay, because it's impossible. Salinity is an extremely important thing for sharks. There are 12 shark species in the Chesapeake Bay. Check out my Sharks of the Chesapeake video. I'll talk about them. White shark's not in that video, right? It's not, because they weren't there. They can never go in the bay. You know, it's too hard for them. They would die. So the tag is wrong. And to confirm that it's wrong, Ocearch removed it. So it's gone now. You can't find that data set, right? And that was a very quiet thing. And I posted it on my personal Facebook. I think I might have posted it on the Dr. Jaws Facebook. I want to say this happened 2012, 2013. It was really weird. I actually have to find the photo. I might have taken a screenshot. If I find that, I'll let you guys know. I'll post it on the Dr. Jaws Facebook. But anyway, that was really concerning because, again, if that tag is wrong, what other tags are wrong? Because that's a big satellite mistake. That is really big. Because the closest body of water next to that part of the Chesapeake Bay is the Delaware Bay, and the Delaware Bay is also an estuary. So you are off by a lot, right? The second instance got more popularity, but it's sort of not as bad, but it's still kind of bad, right? Where a white shark was found supposedly in Pamlico Sound, right? Pamlico Sound is in the Outer Banks. Or kind of in the Outer Banks. It's like the, it's the Outer Banks, but it's the inner portion of the Outer Banks. That sounds so weird. Oh my gosh. Okay, it's the body of water within the Outer Banks, right? The Outer Banks are right next to the Atlantic, and then they're the sliver of land that separates the Atlantic from North Carolina mainland, and that huge body of water in between is Pamlico Sound, which is also an estuary. And if you check salinity on Pamlico Sound, I gotta tell you, there's not an area where it's full seawater. There's not a 30 plus parts per thousand area in the sound, right? That area's gotta be 20, 25, maybe 27 maximum. Either way, white shark cannot be there. There is no way a white shark can go into Pamlico Sound. But a tag put one in the sound, right? And that one I can't forgive it, but like that one, I mean, full seawater is sort of next to it, so maybe the satellite got off by a little bit. But the problem with that is that got a lot of traction. There's a lot of not well-researched news reports. And they're like local Outer Banks news about, oh my gosh, great white shark in Pamlico Sound. Are we reliving Jaws? You're not, because it's impossible. It cannot do it. So, yeah, I mean, how did that happen? This happened twice. And I think that ping is still up there, but you just look for the articles, right? How can you get the pings off so much, like by so much? And it raises very, very uncomfortable questions. It's one of those things where it's like, you know, I mean, like, if this is a lie, what else is a lie, right? And that's what really concerns me. That is my biggest concern, and it's literally a concern because, I mean, as you were listening earlier, there's a lot that I appreciate Ocearch for. There's a lot that they do that I think is really important, right? But you can't do that if the basic structure has such glaring errors, right? So when you look out and like if you zoom out and see the whole map, to me it looks pretty okay, right? Because you see these two, I'm going to use white sharks and mako sharks for example, as the example. For white sharks and mako sharks, you see these two very fascinating biological patterns where you have white sharks coming into the coast at certain points of the year and then zooming off, you know, into the open ocean. And it's a beautiful coastal pelagic pattern. That's exactly what a coastal pelagic species does. It spends some of its time on the coast and then some of its time offshore, right? And then you compare that with mako sharks, which are a pure pelagic species, and you see this really interesting concentration of them on the continental shelf break, but they never come into the coast, right? And those observations make sense to me. Like that, the collection of pings that we're seeing makes sense. And I think and assume most of their data is good, right? But those two little estuarine instances, or incidences, they bring some flags up. So I don't know. Yeah, it's something of concern. Now, I think a great way to end this, though, and this is more of a quandary, not a positive or negative, but a very, very important quandary that we can all agree on, and Ocearch should be able to agree on this too, right? Where is the plateau? When will the tagging of the sharks be done? How many do you need before you realize we gotta kind of turn in the towel, because like white sharks, again, they're a sensitive species. They are, there's a reason they're protected. There's a reason they're so globally protected. There's only 5 sharks that have as extensive a level of protection. You know, it's like white sharks, whale sharks, basking sharks, and I think some of the makos and then the hammerheads. Actually, I'm going to change it to hammerheads. Hammerheads and oceanic white tips. There we go. Those are the ones that, you know, have received the most amount of global protection. Those are the guys that are like, okay, we all know that don't touch these sharks. But white sharks, man, like there's a limit. There's a limit to how many maybe you can tag and how many you can stress out. So where is that limit? Because you do need a good sample size for tagging studies, right? But, and there's plenty of places in the world, right? And the cool thing about Ocearch is that they do travel the world. You know, they just finished their low country expedition. They've been up and down this coast, up and down, you know, my home ecoregion. They've been, you know, Guadalupe and I think I want to say like Caribbean, and I believe they've been in Australia. But like, there's a lot of different places with white sharks, and white sharks are a global species. To tag them and to travel, and you know, I'm sure it's probably going to go on for very long. You know, I think we've got a long time with Ocearch to come, but it is very important to remember, like, where does it stop? You know, where does it end? Because you can't keep tagging sharks if the tags are possibly detrimental to their health. If the process is detrimental to their health, like you can't keep tagging them. You can't keep like pressuring in this interesting way this protected species. So it's a good question to keep in mind. And I don't think personally that limit has been reached quite yet, but it is important to remember, like, where does it go? And another important thing to remember is like how valuable is the exposure, right? So Ocearch is clearly very popular. It's got a lot of, you know, people backing it, you know, either monetarily or just in spirit, right? But with that, there's a lot of opportunities for, I guess, lucrativity. There's a lot of opportunities to cash in on that, right? And it's important to kind of, I don't know, if there are concerns with the tagging itself, it's important to maybe remember the balance between, you know, like, or remember like the origin of like, why are we doing this? Are we doing this for shark research, or will there be a day where we cross the line and kind of do it for entertainment? Where is that line between entertainment and actual research? So, and again, I don't think they've crossed that line quite yet, but some people do. Like 10% do. You know, 90% love them, 10% are like, not liking it, right? So we shall see, I guess. But yeah, it's interesting once you kind of get some prestige going, and this is for any shark scientist or any wildlife entertainer. You know, where is the soul of your project? You know, is it really coming from your love of it, or is it transforming into the machine of, hey, this has got a lot of money in it, right? And again, I'm not going to make any accusations, because again, I think they're doing fantastic work in a lot of ways with concerns, and I don't think they've reached that point personally. But it's interesting. It's an interesting, broader question to think about. Anyway, if you have any comments, or if you are Ocearch, feel free to email me. Please go to www.drjaws.net and click on Contact. And yeah, I would be interested to hear your thoughts. And then if you're not Ocearch, I mean, you can still email me, but yeah, leave your comments below. Please like and subscribe if you thought this was interesting. And yeah, stay tuned. We'll do some more Dr. Jaws Sharks and Coffee Season 2 videos coming your way. Thanks so much for watching. Adios.